Hello, everybody. I'll wait to see that some of you are on before we get started. Welcome to Texas A&M at the Dallas Center. My name is Joe Masabni. I'm the Extension Vegetable Specialist at the Dallas Center. Thank you for joining me. Today I'm gonna be talking about what I have growing in the greenhouse, since it's still things are, let me switch around and you can see the garden in the background. It's still dormant. Nothing to show outside except that little shed over there that we were working on it this week to be completed, 10 by 12. So that could be another show. So having to be indoors, let's talk about what I have. I know a lot of people that would love to have a greenhouse next to their house or a high tunnel. That is a great idea to extend your growing season and grow things over the winter. So even a 10 by 10 lean-to structure, you can grow a lot of things. I mean, look at this little system here. I have 15, 16 Swiss chards, 8 kales, 5, 6 basil, and here I had calette that we removed and a couple of rhubarb. And I've been harvesting these all winter, and actually these are due for a second harvest soon. So these were put here on October 13, 2021. So what's that makes it? Almost 5 months old. And I'm gonna do my best to take them out carefully if I can, if I don't have to cut them and transplant them outside. But if you look closely, you see baby roots starting to come up here. So if I do have to cut them, what I'm gonna do with this is cut them right here flush, because they may not come out with the roots through this tiny hole. Cut them flush, remove all the leaves, and set it in water so that it'll develop root. And this way I don't lose this beautiful stem that's 5 months old, because my goal is to take them out and plant them in the garden. Okay, this one should be easy to remove. Just carefully pull it out, maybe trim some of the roots. And if I do trim some of the roots, I'll have to trim some of the foliage with it. But here's my kale, doing great. No aphids. I keep looking at them. No aphids, no problem. We've been struggling with aphids. Okay, so basil are also doing great. You know, nothing like basil. This is Siam Queen. They're starting to flower, but cut them and they grow again. Cut them, they grow again. Curries, excellent dish. So that is the advantage of having a small greenhouse next to your house. You don't have to buy a kit, you can build it. But just remember, you put a thermometer inside and measure it, and you have to have a heater, because on some cold nights, these plants will not tolerate freezing. So a small 10 by 10, a small heater will be enough. And if it gets hot, open the windows or open the doors will be fine. You just have to manage it. You don't just build it and forget it and expect that it'll do miracles for you. Okay, that is my encouragement for you to grow things in a small greenhouse next to your house. And that same structure can be used to germinate plants, germinate for the coming spring season. All right, so I'm going to show you what are my plans for the upcoming spring season. I've shown you this Dutch bucket system, which is an open loop. I've disconnected it. I cleaned the tank. I removed the tubings. I had here calette growing, and I harvested them 2 or 3 times, and I shut off the water, 2 weeks ago? and these are still growing. It's amazing how much that perlite holds water. See, it's bone dry here, but when you dig deeper, it still feels moist. But anyway, these are still doing well, and one last harvest and I clean them. My goal was to cut off the water so that these buckets dry out and are easy to drain and clean, and set it up for a spring planting. And this is how the Dutch bucket looks like. You don't have to buy a complete system like this. You can build your own, and I see a lot of videos on YouTube. You just have to understand the concept of Dutch bucket. What you see here inside the bucket is that there's a little ledge. Okay, looks like what, inch and a half, so that water accumulate at the bottom here. It never dries out. Okay, and then any extra water will grow through this tube to the outside. Okay, so if you add water, it's not gonna fill up. That'll drown the plants. It will not gonna fill it up to here. The maximum it'll fill up water is to this line, and then any extra will go out from this hole into this hole here, so it can drain back. Out. So see, it's just sitting there. It's not permanently attached. So my goal is to recycle this perlite, and you see this is still moist. That shows you why these are still doing well and still alive. But my goal is next week is to clean these up. I'm blind. I'm sorry, I see that it's connecting and disconnecting, so please be patient. My goal is to have one line recycled perlite and one line new perlite, just for fun, just to see if it makes a difference. I don't think it's going to make a difference. If anything, the old perlite may have still residual fertilizer in it, so they may be better. As long as there's no disease, soil disease, which I haven't seen anything, I don't see any problem with recycling. So what's my plan for the spring? I want to plant a lot of pepper plants. These were inside in a grow container, shipping container that you see in the background there. You see the word grow container. A very controlled environment, everything artificial. We did experiment with organic fertilizers, and these plants are extra plants, so they are going to go outside. You see what I did? I trimmed them here. I gave them a haircut, a buzz cut, to encourage all the side branches to grow and have a bush plant. Otherwise, they'll be too big, and there's no need. I'd rather have a bush plant going outside. I also planted another set of plants, and you see, these haven't been trimmed yet, but they're due to get a trim because I would like them to head them back like that, so they look like this, and that will encourage this branch already starting to grow, and this, and this, and this, and this to develop instead of one tall single plant. So I have 2 ages of plants, and up in the other greenhouse I have a third recent planting from seeds that we started. So I have peppers galore. Remember, pepper is a perennial plant, meaning that if you protect it from the winter, it will grow again. It will continue growing. And I have, here's one plant, and in this pot I have another plant that were growing in my backyard at home outside, but in the fall, before the winter froze them, I dug up a couple and I planted them here. And you can tell from the stem that these are not 1 or 2 months old. These are very mature plants. And you can prune them. My goodness, I can even train this to be a bonsai. Look at the beautiful stem structure. Leaning like a cascade style. And I've been harvesting throughout the winter. Peppers will be great in a greenhouse because they're self-pollinated. They don't need bees, so it's not like cucumber. So my goal is to take these pepper plants, plant them outside in the spring, and then dig them up and bring them back inside. So I want to see how long I can have these plants. So far, they're let's call them 1 year old. They've gone through one season, and this spring they're gonna be a second season. My goal is to have a pepper plants like this mint plant that's at least 10 years old. Okay, these two are 10 years old or more, 14 years old. I mean, since I left Michigan, and they come with me. Every couple of years, I dig them up, clean the root ball to a small, like remove 2 inches all around and put new media and grow them again, and they love it. Okay, so peppers, tomatoes, basil, those two basil, the purple one, also were outside growing, and then before the freeze got them, I dug up a few plants and I brought them in, and they're beautiful. They keep growing, they keep making flowers, beautiful smell. I don't like the taste of this one, but the smell is great. So grow your peppers and try them. Another reason is because seed is becoming so expensive. I just bought 10 pepper seeds for $4. It used to be the smallest amount you can buy was like half an ounce. Now you can buy them in 10 seeds. So if I'm getting anything that's open pollinated, I'm gonna start saving seeds. All right, so what's the problem with growing plants in a greenhouse? Here's a close-up. See the aphids? And not just these guys, but also these guys. You see this black thing here? That's the adult with wings. So that's the problem, that will fly from here to the colette or fly over there to the rhubarb, which I have rhubarb over there. I'll show you have aphids. So that is the problem with the aphids. I sprayed 7 last week, didn't seem to do them. So what is my option? I can do the organic option and get a wipe and wipe them off like this, physical damage. But that means I have to wipe every leaf. Of course, be doing it with 2 hands, not with 1 hand like I'm doing now. And even then, you risk not getting every single one. And that is a problem. You gotta kill every single one. Why? Because aphid give birth to live pregnant females. They don't lay eggs. So even if you leave 5% of the aphids still alive, they can go back to serious numbers real quick. So that is the problem with aphids, is once you get them, and you will get them, because the adults fly. I mean, it was clean greenhouse, so those black things you saw are the adults with wings. They must have flown in and loved the beautiful environment that they have here. So this is one option, spray regularly. I'm gonna start spraying again with insecticidal soap. Another option I'm gonna do is remove these old leaves, trim these old leaves. So not only I trimmed it, like you saw, headed it back here, but also I'm gonna remove these old leaves to look like this. And by that, I'm removing a huge population of aphids, which are sapping the juice out of the plant. So let's show you. They remove the old leaves that were there, are like the oldest leaves in here. Get rid of them. Like I did this, do this. Remove the oldest leaves, the biggest ones. Reduce the aphid population, and not having to spray and not having to physically clean them as many leaves. So that, between those two combination, insecticidal soap, I encourage you to buy insecticidal soap instead of trying to make your own recipe, because you can watch YouTube and see people making recipes, and there's all kind of recipes, and you don't know what works for you without injuring the plant. If you choose, some people are stubborn, they think they know better. If you choose to make your own recipe, please test it on one plant. Because if the soap concentration is too high, you kill one plant instead of killing all the plants. And watch it for a few days. and then see that it's not dead. And if it's not dead, also see if it worked or not. So that you say, this recipe I saw online by so and so is useless because either it killed my plants or it didn't do anything. I see the same number to put growth instead of these old leaves that are really old and are stressed from all these aphids. So that helps a lot. But you will have aphids in a greenhouse, so you have to spray regularly once a week, even if the greenhouse looks vivid, because you don't want to wait to see them to try to control them. By then, it is too late. So beautiful plants. I'll finish cleaning the old leaves later after the show ends. I'll try to rub off some of the oldest leaves and some of the aphids on the youngest leaves. Also, all of these as favor for my beautiful plants. They make beautiful fruits, sweet, tasty. But the interesting thing is that some of these fruits, this is old and they're supposed to be sweet, but occasionally there's one that's spicy. And I don't have an answer for that. They're all the same genetics. Why one fruit is sweet and another fruit from the same plant is spicy? If you don't like spicy peppers, you can peel them. And if you avoid the seeds and the white flesh that's inside the fruit, that is the spiciest part. If you can avoid that, you can still enjoy. Even a jalapeno will be edible, even if just like eat the skin without having to eat. Right, so these rhubarbs here had 0 aphids. But look, here's the first clue that you have aphids. You see all this? Let me see if I can zoom in. You see all these skeletons, looks like someone sprinkled something like powder. These are the skin of the aphids as they were maturing. Okay, flip it over, and you see here are all the aphids, and here's an adult also ready to fly or just landed here. So these must have come from over there, about 15-20 feet distance, and now I have to spray my rhubarb again. I've talked about rhubarb before. Rhubarb, you eat the stem part, so I really don't care if the leaf is ugly or dying. This is the stem part that's edible, sour, make excellent rhubarb pie with strawberry and a lot of sugar. Now what's interesting is that I've been harvesting rhubarb throughout the winter, but and they make such a huge leaves. Look at this, such a huge leaf. Look, big leaves. But the stem is very short. So this must be, my guess as a scientist, this is an adaptation to low light conditions. It's making a large leaf area, but the stems are short. So, I mean, rhubarb, you want the stem to be a foot long and dark red to be tasty. Color is not important. They all taste the same, but short, that's not useful. Okay. So you can garden, you can have plants growing year-round. You don't need a fancy greenhouse like this here. Lean-to greenhouse on your house, which is a great idea, better than one that's independent because it gets the heat from the wall and the protection from the wall. I suggest if you want to do that, make it 10 by 10. Build it in a way that you can put shade cloth over it or a blanket over it on some sunny days, and a small heater that you can put inside on some cold nights, and you can be enjoying vegetables and fruits, leafy vegetables or fruiting vegetables year round. With that, I thank you for joining me, and I apologize if the connection was coming on and off. Please email me if you have any questions, or if you're ever in the Dallas area, come visit. I'll be happy to give you a tour and answer any question you may have. All right.